All right, as we talk about where we're at with the ending of the Department of Education and with the latest big story coming out of the state of Texas, officially passing the largest of school educational savings accounts, kind of like a health savings account, but a school savings account, school choice going on in the state as that continues to light the fire across other states to do the same thing with their transformations with what's going on at the federal level. That's where we bring in our friends over with the American Legislative Exchange Council. Happy to have on here from ALEC, Mr. Andrew Handel, back on the program. Andrew, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, always good to chat with you, especially with this. It's exciting news that we're moving in this direction. It's been a long time coming, and it's about darn time that we've done it. But thank goodness we're finally starting to see some action when it comes to school choice and educational savings accounts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we've always had, some small programs, some small, bits of school choice and education freedom around the country. And boy, now we're just seeing states just go for it. And, you just mentioned Texas. That's going to be the largest day one universal program anywhere in the country. So it's super, super exciting to see.
Absolutely. Talk about what this program does. And for those that may not be familiar with educational savings accounts, kind of like a health savings account, but talk about the process, what exactly Texas is doing, and maybe other states can start mimicking this type of plan.
Savings account is basically where a state takes their portion of money that they would have otherwise spent to teach that child in a public school, and it goes into an account that the parent can then direct how the funds are spent. So there's a wide variety of approved educational expenses, things like private school tuition, school uniforms, textbooks, testing fees, therapies for students with special needs, and the list goes on. So there's very little chance for any, waste, fraud, or abuse. There's a explicitly approved list there that parents can spend the money on. And that's the whole idea, right, is put parents in the driver's seat. Recognize that not every student is going to learn best in their local public school. So why don't we open up all these other options and let parents be the ones to decide which school their child goes to? So the whole purpose of these accounts is to help make those other learning environments and a reality for these families.
So good. What a concept. And it blows my mind why this is even a fight to allow parents to actually have that choice and to get that card. Like you said, I mean, when we usually have our tax money, our property taxes, income tax, whatever that goes into these funds at the federal level or the statewide levels, and then they give it to the education systems, then you don't have this choice to take them to a private school, charter school, whatever. But then you still have to pay additionally on top of that, like you said, for the books, for the crayons and erasers, exactly, for the uniforms, for everything. With this system, you actually have more flexibility to use for the school resources that you need for your child, which I would think at the end of the day would actually help the pocketbooks of families as opposed to going to the government to do it for us.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, everybody, all these families pay for those public schools through their income taxes, their property taxes. And so if they're going to use the public school, that's great. And the money will stay right there. But if they choose not to use that public school, it just isn't fair to them that we tell them, oh, sorry, you're out of luck. You're going to have to pay for it again. So essentially they're paying for the public school through their taxes, and then they have to find the money elsewhere to pay for that private school on top of it. So, obviously, you think about something else like, a Netflix subscription, right? If you stop using Netflix, then you cancel your subscription and you're no longer paying for it. But right. The exact opposite happens here.
It's insane. Talk about the argument against this. I know it's probably more of a bureaucratic argument, more of the administrative state argument. We don't know the stability of the school district. We need to fund the public schools. So therefore, if you pay it to us, it's not as good as if the government did it for us to know exactly how much we're getting. That's my assumption of what these arguments look like. But from what you guys have heard, what's the argument against transitioning to this kind of process?
That is exactly it. Yep. We never see school districts kind of take a look inside of themselves and say, what are some things that we might be doing that are wasteful? Maybe we don't need 15 administrators at this one school. Maybe we can do it with 5. There's lots of things that school districts can and should be doing to help manage those budgets. But exactly to your point, Andy, that's the most common thing that we hear in opposition to it is that this is going to take money away from public schools. And honestly, the exact opposite is true because when we talk about these ESAs and other school choice programs, we're only talking about the state portion of money that's following that student to another school. The local money that's paid with property taxes and the federal money stays put. So if you look at it on a per student basis, per student spending actually goes up when more students participate in these programs. So it's a
Interesting.
good thing for public schools in the long run.
Yeah, it seems like it. And it creates that competition. Look, if you're not doing your job, if we don't see the great graduation rates, if we don't see the high test scores, if we don't see the curriculum that needs to be right, then you're going to go somewhere else, creating that need of, hey, we need to make sure that we're providing the best services possible, as opposed to, well, it's good enough for government work and you can't go anywhere anyway, so we're just going to do whatever we want to do and change priorities and have, the social focus on identity politics or whatever they want to do, that we have the choice to say, no, we don't like that. We're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if a local public school is doing an awesome job and parents are happy with the quality of education that their kids are getting, then those parents are going to keep sending their kids to that public school, and nothing's going to change for that. But it's the other public schools where even if they might serve 90% of kids in their district best, there's still that 10% that need to be somewhere else, and we shouldn't be leaving those kids behind either. We should be making sure that all of these other learning environments are a realistic possibility. So that's why school choice is so crucial.
I love this. We're talking with Andrew Handel. He's with ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, as we talk about some of the new school choice methods that many states are reforming to. Now, I'm coming from Kansas. We passed our open enrollment last year, so we're starting to go down the road of school choice. Haven't quite gotten to educational savings accounts, but we're working on it. What other states are you guys focusing on or need to be focused on right now to really create more opportunity for parents and for children at these state levels? Because I know some are doing well, like you said, like Texas. Others, maybe not so much. We got to focus on these a little more.
Sure. Honestly, I'm happy to report that really most states, are doing a really good job at this. I think the only state right now, a lot of state legislatures are starting to adjourn, reaching the end of their sessions. But the one state that we're keeping a close eye on is New Hampshire. That's actually a state, they already have an ESA program in place, and it's pretty broadly available, but it's not quite universal. So there is a bill that's working its way through the process. I believe it's passed the Senate, and then it's back over in the House where it passed as well, and then it's going to need one more vote in the Senate. So keeping an eye on that. There's still some things to happen there, but it's looking promising there in New Hampshire. So yeah, that's one we're definitely keeping an eye on. And we're proud to say right now we're at 16 states with universal school choice. So
That's exciting.
Really never had this situation. Actually, with Texas getting it done, we can now say officially that more than 50% of American kids have access to a school choice program. So that's a huge amount.
That is way better than I thought. I did not realize it was that big. I know that it's been a focus for a while, but I didn't realize that it's actually been pushed that much, and we've actually seen that much result. So that's a really good number at 50%.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah, obviously there's several million kids in Texas, so getting that program across the finish line was very helpful for that. But yeah, it's a huge accomplishment, and it's a credit, especially to those 16 states that decided that we think school choice needs to be for everyone, and we're not just going to pass a program, we're going to pass a big program. We're going to make sure every single family can take advantage of it.
That's really amazing. I love it. You mentioned a little while ago as well, like the price per student going into public education. And I know every state's different, and depending on how the systems work, every state obviously has different expenditure. Here in Kansas, because I know that living here, that over the 10 years that we've been on the radio here, we've seen that number climb dramatically. From when I first got here in 2015, it was around $8,000 to $9,000 per student to go to public school. Today, I remember then it was like a breaking news when it went up to $11,000 to $12,000. Today, it's $18,000 to $20,000 per student to go to public education, which is absolutely insane. Because Andrew, I'm sure that you have better numbers. I'm assuming that private school, taking your kid to a private school, isn't quite as expensive as going $20,000 a year.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why these programs work so well. It's not just about obviously the big draw for these is getting these kids into a school that works better for them. But you're exactly right. In a lot of these states, they started pumping so much money into these public schools that, private education is actually a little bit less. So if you send a kid to that private school, not only are they getting a better education, but the state is actually able to do it for less money. And that's a big part of why the per student spending goes up. I mean, if you look in a state like Texas, which, is a big state, has a lot of kids, they spend upwards of $8 billion a year on K through 12 education.
Wow.
And this program that they just passed, the first year appropriation is $1 billion. So
That's
it's
insane.
still only a fraction of the total spending. And, hopefully we see those numbers rise over time. But yeah, I mean, these numbers are just absolutely massive when it comes to public education spending.
Yeah, it's insane, and the battle continues. But it sounds like we're moving in that right direction. We are out of time, my friend. It is Andrew Handel, American Legislative Exchange Council. ALEC, you can find them online and see everything that they do. We appreciate it, my friend. Keep up this fight. Let's get you back on and do it again soon, brother.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me back on.